this postcard envelope.
So this is our fifth meeting,
Okay.
for the comp
Yes.
plan. And, first I just wanna go through, so as you're all aware, we're going out with a mini survey. And you're assisting with this by helping us stuff envelopes that will contain, information and a QR code, as to where you can participate in the survey. And the survey itself has a exercise where people can kind of pick the best places, what's special about Washingtonville on a map. And then they get the opportunity to identify 3 issues and 3 opportunities for the village moving forward. So the comprehensive plan, the timeline for that, a plan is generally 10 to 20 years. So we need to kind of think about, in the next 10 to 20 years, what do we think the village will confront? And what are the opportunities to achieve the village's objectives and its vision? So to that, I had sent around, and we're gonna have a little mini discussion about vision. So vision is a statement that provides a framework for the overall comprehensive plan. And it expresses in words how you envision that the village would be 10 to 20 years from now. In some communities, it's also like a mission statement. Yeah, so in some communities, they focus on how they want to evolve or change. In other communities, it's how they want to stay the same. If they like the way they are now, what is it that you love about it now that all decisions should focus on and should, cement. So when I sent you everything, which I would have brought up on the screen if I forget it, was some vision statements, and I included vision statements from communities, but also even just corporate. Because, some corporate mission statements are one sentence. And so for IKEA, our vision is to create a better everyday life for many people. Nike is bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And then McDonald's to be the best quick service restaurant experience. So that's essentially what they're saying, is their mission and their vision. That guides them. The other examples I gave you, there were 3, and they're different. Some are long, some are a little shorter. One was for the town of Poughkeepsie, another was for Hillburn, yep, and then the other was for Monroe. So Monroe's was bulleted. They had a description about what the assets are and what they want, really what makes Monroe unique and special. So it was more about talking about the assets. So the village of Hillburn, you first described what the village is: small, rural, historic, tranquil, affordable, traditional village, nestled within the Ramapo River Valley, ringed by a pristine mountain backdrop. It's strategically located at the edge of bustling New York City metropolitan region and its employment centers. It has an excellent quality of life, evidenced by the generations of families that have called it home. Hillburn is very insular, long generations, multiple generations that grow up in Hillburn and stay in Hillburn. And so this is all speaks to what they think of as their community. Local residents and businesses actively participate, support organizations that contribute to the betterment of the village. Village highly supportive of protecting and preserving its natural environment and historic resources. And then they say, over the next 10 years, Hillburn community aspires to protect Hillburn's small village Americana feeling and ensure that new development, environmentally responsible businesses are allowed only where they protect Hillburn's sensitive natural resources can be accommodated adequately by the transportation, utility, infrastructure, and support the village's tax rateable base. So that's a lot. Packed into a vision statement.
Right, they also have a lot of activity in
Yes.
that small town too, which
Yep.
doesn't really conform with that statement.
And then town of Poughkeepsie, they picked 3 key words in theirs. So that first they define what Poughkeepsie is: an established, evolving, vibrant, diverse, community-centered. And then they said the next 10 years, town will be revitalized, redeveloped, and reconnect to redefine what it means to live and work in a 21st century Poughkeepsie. And they could end it there, but again, there's supplemental statements to talk about, well, how do you get there? And The reason they talk about, and their focus for the next 10 or 20 years is to revitalize, redevelop, and reconnect, is because they had IBM, which was really what made them evolve into this big suburban community. They still have Marist, they still have Vassar, so they have institutions that are part of their makeup. But with IBM downsizing, what you also found, never mind from the market today how retail's changing, but because the population is changing, it's affecting places like, if you've ever been to Poughkeepsie, you've been to the Galleria. And that mall is not the same as it was in the heyday, just like many malls are not the way they used to be in their heydays. So one of the things they've been contemplating is how do we take these old shopping centers that clearly are marginal? They have businesses there, but they're not, entirely, thriving, thank you. And so they talked about redeveloping them. And some of the redevelopment they talk about is putting housing in. So having the commercial stay there, but then included within that footprint, starting to introduce some housing. And so the plan is talk about the kinds of housing they would want to attract. So that's their vision. And so what we're gonna do this evening is have a little exercise, and I gave you the Post-its, because I want you all to pick 3 words, it can be words or sentences, that you think would be integral to any vision statement that the village develops. I can tell you that the prior committee, I also sent you community character vision statement. The prior committee that worked on this effort had a vision statement, and so it was, Village of Washingtonville shall be recognized as a highly desirable place to live and raise a family. So family's kind of a key word in that. We will be known as a village that offers all members in the community a quality of life second to none. Maintain the unique character and history of the village will forever remain a priority. Will enhance the community's quality of life, health, and safety through transparency, accountability, and collaboration with residences, business, and civic organizations. We will seek to protect and develop the economic welfare and interests of the residents and expand cultural, recreational, and entertainment opportunities. We shall provide responsible development while protecting nature, natural resources, and aesthetics of our quaint village. So that packs a lot. So I think when you're thinking about this exercise, think about what it is you want to say about the village that makes it unique. What are words that embody the village that you want in the vision statement? And also they can be forward thinking. What do you think you have to do, or what words would encompass where you think the village has to go in the next 10 to 20 years?
Yeah.
So those pink posties you have, I want you to take a pen, and I want you to write down either 3 words, 3 sentences, something that you think would be a great word to include in a vision statement. Because then what happens when we do go to the public, we may have an exercise at the workshop where we'll put the list of words that you come up with and ask them to put, stamps or dots next to what they think resonates with them. And the ones that get the most votes are the ones that you want to start to incorporate in the vision statement. So this is helping advance the comprehensive plan and also the public participation element of the plan.
Well, I don't have a word, I have something that I like, but I can't think of a word.
You
understand
can
what I'm
ask.
saying? I like the fact that everything is located very close,
So just write that down.
centrally located. The police station, the post office, the shopping, because where I live in the manufactured homes, people can walk to them and walk back home.
So why don't you,
But I don't know the word.
so I would just put some sentences down there, because I'm gonna put all of these on that board.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try and align, because sometimes what you'll find is, 3 people will say the same thing, so clearly
Right.
that's an important word.
Right.
And then we kind of talk about the others, that you pick out. So, whenever you're done, let me know, and then I'll take the posties. Right, quick.
Well, you good at it. Well,
Well,
that's the reason, well, you've been here
No,
for 2 months, so you.
well, I've
Thank
had
you.
the ability to,
Oh, so use, I'm sorry, use one postie for each word.
oh,
Sorry about that.
Oh.
Let me get this one back to you. I'm gonna turn all the lights on.
Oh,
We can't get the,
you're over there, Bonnie, I'm sorry. On the
yeah, we're
far
trying
end.
to get, we thought we could get this going, but it's not gonna happen, so
Jeez.
it'll. Yeah, go ahead.
I missed,
Oh,
what was it?
3 words that you think should be in the vision statement. Key words, key sentences, things that you think are integral to defining the village over the next 10 to 20 years.
Just one word on each
Could be
sheet?
one, could be a couple, could be sentence, whatever.
So like a
So
phrase.
one phrase, one word per postie. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them on this and then see how everybody's thoughts align or don't align. And what words people like as part of the vision.
But we are multitasking.
I know. I'm asking a lot. I see a Sam, I'm tempted to get in touch with him. I refuse to accept that we can't get this thing done. Would the mayor know?
Oh, hi, George.
Hello.
Do you want them or you want me to just kind of like put them?
If you want to be a Vanna, and as people,
On the side? Thank you.
so George, we're writing down 3 words
For the vision?
for the vision, one on each. It could be sentence, it could be word that we're writing about the community. There's no right or wrong, there's no better or worse. It's just what you think. You know, and it may not even be vision, it may be something that becomes a goal or an objective or an implementation method, but just 3 words you think of when you think about the vision and the future of the village. And then we'll get into issues and then we'll get to opportunities.
Oh, one each.
How many do we get now? 1, 2, I'm gonna continue to play with this, probably.
You go down.
I guess I got a nickname. Ding, 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 ding.
So as we put those up, are any lights aligning? Okay. That's weird.
The spelling count.
I know. You're not throwing out, the spelling, is off.
One?
Anybody else have more on?
Oh, no, not so.
Thank you.
Yeah, postcard, yes, in our main survey.
Thank you. An advertising potential.
for you?
Yes, they are.
Some of them are cut like a little weird.
Here's one.
Well,
I'll have the envelope.
you stuffing or folding?
So some people are folding, some people are stuffing.
Okay.
Okay, I have some more foldings.
You know how many there are of these? I think there's 2,000, right?
She said that.
Yeah. Should have brought some
Is there any more
refreshments.
Any more
Next
questions?
meeting's after the 16th, right?
We're going to take a little break, and we're gonna figure out when we wanna have a workshop,
Words, of course you're.
and we're gonna start working towards a document.
That's what,
Alright,
should I circle
Yeah,
three
just,
words?
no, just put whatever, something on
Season
there.
would be over by then, if it was after the 16th.
What's gonna be over?
Season.
Oh, her season? Oh, your
That's where I
season.
came from, reference, man.
Did you
That's
say
what
it
I'm
was your
here.
daughter?
No, my
Oh.
daughter lives in San Jose. She's
Oh.
45, 46.
I thought it was someone, it must be
Yesterday.
someone else's daughter then. I'm getting everything.
Me,
Was it your
she
daughter?
plays volleyball
Oh, that's, okay.
for the middle school.
This is soccer.
Okay, so I'm probably confusing the two together.
Yeah, I
I'm
just
putting the daughter and the soccer together.
That was a very long,
Alright.
But I'm doing it.
I know, I see
Did
that.
you do yours?
I got to.
Yeah.
You got
That's
two?
that's
That's
it.
all, that's all you have to do.
Who is it?
That's all you have.
I've done trade shows before where, you know, about thousands of pieces to people, so it's
So-
just like second nature.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. You got two? You don't have to. Okay. All right, so do you have anything about travel? Or? Going to include travel, and the three visuals of heritage. Oh, a lot of those, yeah.
My man is going to.
This is like overarching,
The land.
yeah. Kind of all those. Support local businesses. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Postcard or welcome. So we're not sealing it, it's just gonna be a postcard in there. Oh, okay, I didn't see any of it.
All right. So, in terms of results, does anybody else have any? You good? So, I would say there's two areas that you all probably talked about in terms of vision statement.
Mhm.
And it's maintaining historic character, maintain historical
Store.
character of village for future development, maintain the historical beauty of our village, historic and scenic resources, or establish community unique character, retain visuals of its heritage, hometown charm. So clearly, you all think that the visual environment, the character, what you have now is what you wanna protect. So you like what you have, and you wanna protect it. Any thoughts on this, any comments for those who?
That would be true.
Just, we had gotten an email about the, historic presentation that was going to be done at the library last night.
No,
And for anybody to come back and report, and I was there.
okay,
So it was very interesting. I've seen presentations like that before. But this one was a little bit more detailed and would really be great for everybody here to see because it showed many instances of what was and what has now become.
Oh, last night?
Yes.
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, were you there? I didn't see you.
206 slides. Of,
is this gonna be
At the
posted
library.
somewhere?
No.
Like as a PowerPoint or?
it was what Jeannie did, that's the Pam, that's where she got some of the.
Okay, yep.
Before and after.
Tom one is
206
so last,
slides.
but I said, the Tom
And it was very interesting to see what was, right?
Yeah.
And some of the things that are
Were,
not.
I know, but a lot of what still is.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're at, so important to keep what
What is,
remains.
what remains as far as historic. So then I would say the next grouping is related, and its preservation can include look, land use, etc. Respect for land use character, environmental protection, so they're kind of rolled into preservation, protection, and the land use character. So, you know, there's a little cluster of people who say, you know, our land use mix, our pattern land use should be protected. In other words, that would suggest no major changes to that land use pattern, in my mind. There were two words, both quaint. That you're quaint, great place to visit, responsible building, stability, which is a kind of a nice word, that means stable community. Quiet, a quiet community. So, you know, you're a little off the beaten track, but, you know, not really at the crossroads, but the neighborhoods are a little, you know, off the beaten path, not overly densified, that you don't feel that it's still quiet when you're in the country. Central locations of viable municipal buildings and shopping. So was that the one you were trying to express?
Yeah.
So I would say, you know, that you're a village, and you're more of a quintessential village, where everything's close by.
The stores are close by,
Yeah.
the
And then,
library, everything is so close.
Walkability.
yes. And, another was welcoming.
Good word.
That's a good enough.
That's a
Good
good word.
word.
So would another word be friendly? Welcoming, friendly, or is it welcoming? Like
I don't know. To me,
embracing is what you think of when you think of welcoming?
I think that kind of.
Welcoming
Both.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
So you really like this
friendly,
one?
I don't know, friendly is different than
You
welcome.
say embracing.
We don't have to change the word, I'm saying,
No, I'm
that-
just saying. but-
yeah, yeah. But embracing or welcoming
Yeah.
is along the same lines as opposed to friendly.
You know, yeah, and inclusive, but that is not the same as welcome.
What's not the same as welcoming? Okay, yeah, I put embracing as similar, embracing, welcome.
I had said inclusive. but-
Inclusive?
But it's not the same
I was
feeling.
gonna change it.
No, I think, yeah, welcoming. So why do you, how do you define or give me examples of welcoming? Like, what do you think of when you think of as welcoming? That people are, see, I'm gonna go back to friendly.
It does go back to
People are
friends.
open, people are,
If I'm welcoming, then my arms are open to me, and I think that encompasses a broad spectrum of what we're talking about. If I'm not gonna welcome you, if I'm not friendly, I'm not open, if I'm not kind, all these things won't fall in that either.
uh-huh,
And if it's different for me,
Yeah.
that's what I see.
yeah. That's great.
Why don't I put it to rural,
Rural?
rural,
Oh, rural,
yeah.
okay. Do you think you're a rural community? Raise your
I thought so
hand
when
if
I
you,
first moved up here.
I was just gonna say, I never saw a deer or a cow in my life.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
ah, interesting,
Not
so,
anymore.
so some people think it still is, so it's comparative, right?
Not anymore.
So if you came from somewhere else and now you're here, you might think it's rural.
But I
if
wouldn't
you
call
were
it a suburb either.
No,
It's
I
in
wouldn't
between.
either, I agree with you.
It's not
Suburb.
suburb.
No.
It's suburban, is that the word?
I think it's
I like
more
that.
welcoming too, it's not necessarily, it is the people, but I think it's also how we present ourselves out in the center of town. You know, like we're talking about having a welcoming center, things for people to do, to welcome them in.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, do you have like a welcome wagon? Remember the welcome wagons you used to have?
We
You know what, actually,
You had?
We had, yeah,
we did have.
we did, in the nineties we had.
So what happened?
And for a while, the.
Well,
chief
actually, in
of
the eighties and the nineties, I
Yeah.
don't know what happened to it.
Well, there was an actual business that was welcome wagon,
Uh-huh,
and that kind of disappeared, but then the chamber also had welcome packages that we put in the village and the town
Yep.
hall,
okay,
for new residents.
okay. Still, or that was a while, a little bit,
That's a while.
that's a while ago.
I mean, you get like some things in the mail.
Yeah,
Not necessarily local to Washington, but
Right.
it's, you know, these are the ones that service like the area, but, to like, I guess just reiterate what you were saying. Coming here, I kind of like the idea of like coming into town, I actually see people outside, which is actually what, like one of the things I actually enjoy, because, you know, sometimes you go to a town or a village and you notice that there's nobody there, people are on to the side, but I like the idea of people being outside and like walking from here to there, and really taking, you know, doing it to them.
so like a people presence.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what else too, that probably would be good for everybody here, the chamber and the village, and the library are working on a main calendar, I guess you would call it. So that this kind of goes with welcoming. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes along with that welcoming feeling, where,
You said chamber, village, and library?
yeah, where everything will be on one main calendar so that people can go on there and see what's happening.
Yeah. I even think about like, you know, those little calendars you put with a magnet on your refrigerator. You can have a little calendar and then you have like this courier knives.
They're expensive nowadays.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
That's my Christmas plan, is to,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, and it's Harrier.
There you go. So, we also have protect and develop economic welfare and interests of residents, support local business economy, optimize usage of empty commercial spaces.
That's on my
You think that's
survey.
very
I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
that was on mine too.
Protect and develop economic welfare and interests of residents, support local business economy, optimize usage of empty commercial spaces.
That's hard.
It's hard, but I guess, do you feel like you're losing the businesses you would go to normally?
Well, what's currently open?
Well, we're losing businesses, I mean, there's empty commercial spaces that shouldn't be empty, and that's definitely affecting tax.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Yeah,
that's-
stores are empty.
Yep.
They've been empty for quite some time.
Has the ownership changed?
I don't know, I think it's expensive to do that.
You know what, that's something that
They
has
don't know how to
been
do it.
for 35 years, at the very least.
Okay.
And it changes all the time.
Yeah. So certainly retail is a challenging environment right now because of Amazon, because of, you know,
Are there certain sectors
And
that
rents are high.
the village can offer?
Rents are very
And that's scares me.
I
That-
think
that
it's
kind of
something to
funny.
talk about, I think it's
We have
something
to
to,
really
you know, in terms
Yeah,
of, so,
that's something we need.
if this is almost more like, it's
Like
an
if
issue
you-
and a vision, so
Like if,
the issue is you're having issues with getting business in, the vision is to have
Oh, you
a
want
diverse and activated.
so like if a
Business
business were to
district.
come to something that Washington needed, and you know, whether there's a couple of people trying to come in, whether there may be different kind of businesses, like, if we do offer some kind of incentive where they know they're gonna make, a good amount of business here, and, people are gonna make it, that should be definitely a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Something of that nature.
Well, I think one of the things to think about and we can look into is if they're empty spaces, they'll have these pop-ups and they're only seasonal sometimes. But isn't it better to have someone in the space than to not have it at all?
Yeah.
So, you'll see in the malls, for instance, that around Halloween,
Yeah.
there'll suddenly be this pop-up costumes,
Yeah.
or around the holidays, pop-up Christmas tree place or ornaments. So I think maybe thinking about programs that if you have the empty spaces, well, how can that storefront be used also? Maybe it's not used, but maybe they could put things in the window so it doesn't look like it's vacant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then what can you do for craft businesses? What is the issue here? Is it the market?
I believe strongly that it's parking and,
Yeah.
traffic in the center of the village. It's so nicely compressed, but in order to bring people from outside, you have to be able to get here easily. So that thing you talked about, the potential of parking over by Spears would, you could have hundreds of people come in and not have trouble walking.
Revise, what did you say? Spears?
Except for
Spears, that's-
the,
The route to
Oh,
away.
Spear lumber, okay.
yeah,
You mean to then, well, so here's the challenge. If you build outside Hamlet, are you going to get new businesses or are you going to bleed businesses from what's on Main Street? And so the question is even now, if you have empty spaces, why would they now go to another property? You know what I'm saying? I don't know the answer, I'm trying to understand the issue, and I think it's something we have to study. Would it be successful now, when you build more residences?
well, you
You
would have
create
more
demand.
residences too, if we had, like we talked about, possibly, senior community there. Like
That's big, so, that's a possibility. So sometimes demand is created by introducing more people. Sometimes demand is created by putting a magnet type of use there that attracts people.
I
And,
was thinking, if you made, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
if you made, and I saw this in North Carolina, there was, they made cobblestone walkways to all the stores that were on Main Street, but the cobblestone walkways were in the back. You know what I'm saying? So they made a beautiful, I'll say apron, with the fountain and everything. And the roads were cobblestone and led to the back of the store. You know what I'm saying? So even though parking was a little bit far away, walking was not. It was pretty. You know what I'm saying? It was really, really pretty. So, Spears is a little bit of a walk,
Yeah.
especially if you had to do that 90-degree walk. But if you built something there, maybe it's housing or I don't know what, or maybe, cafes or something like that, and have a little, cobblestone walkway to the other, not going down Main Street because you don't want everybody walking down Main Street. That type of thing, that would be quaint,
Yeah.
which is my word.
You know what, part of the issue, as far as the open store, shop,
Yeah.
is
Oh, you're
is the
stuffing?
rent.
Yeah.
Oh, the rents are
Yeah.
absorbent.
Do you need parking?
So the businesses,
Yes.
the businesses that come here, for the most part, can't sustain that kind of rent.
It is rent.
The rent is
I wanted to mention that in Monroe, I happen to be walking in Monroe. You know that little street that's, I don't know Monroe very well, but it's like right behind the Dollar Tree? It's like this, it's
Yeah,
behind there?
yeah.
Okay. So they have a little mall in there, and they have like 10 little kiosks, and everybody rents out kiosks there for small businesses.
It's like a little incubator.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, it's kind of like a pop-up, so people can come and go, they can sell their wares.
Seasonally, right, and
Yep.
the woman was telling me that you could rent it for 3 months, 6 months, to a year, whatever you wanna do.
Yeah,
To just maybe if you're a small startup, or you just have seasonal Christmas items, you sell wreaths, you do that for a living, you wanna come out and,
yeah, and have a little storefront.
and you could potentially do that in that I don't know what that hardware store is used for, does anybody know?
Candy factory,
Oh, is that what it is?
candy
So
factory.
it's in use?
Yeah,
Oh, so then maybe they can do it for the candle shop then, if they could split the space up a little bit.
I don't know that the owners
The owners would be
are
willing to do
interested in
that.
that.
You know
And
what's,
that's
you know
the
what's
thing,
kind of,
it's
what's kind of interesting, so we'll go through some of these again, and then we'll go back to this. So, other people said ideal place to
Yeah.
live,
They don't sell it to the public.
progressive,
You know, it's not retail.
so,
What does that mean?
progressive,
Kind of forward thinking.
forward thinking, progressive,
Open to new,
Yeah.
open to new type of ideas.
yeah, open to ideas, that's a great,
Oh, I see.
yeah, I like that. Opportunistic
Businesses,
for businesses, because some people might think of opportunistic as negative,
Yeah.
but this is more about, I think, opportunity,
yeah.
perhaps, that there are opportunities here in the village, perhaps.
For instance, in that survey,
Yeah.
one of the things I put as a venue is, there is no music venue anywhere around
We're
here
doing it.
that has jazz, country, it does every, like a little club that'll fit 50,
Near Mambas, they just opened.
who?
Mambas Creations near the Mexican store where the liquor store is, where the,
Over
The
by
Depot
the
candle
Street.
shop, if you go near.
By the
That's like a-
Mexican
Yeah, they,
Oh, in here in the square, okay.
yeah, they just opened, like maybe a week ago.
What are they supposed to do?
It's a hall that you can use for music. That's what they're
Okay.
trying to do it for, and catering to.
Are they gonna rent it in there?
Yes.
Parties is doing
Parties and
dance
things
like
like
Yes,
that.
exactly, and they just did it. and
So
it's
then
part
you
of-
have to be responsible to promote your own event.
Right, but I'm,
Yeah.
He needs something.
What I'm saying
Yeah,
is
I
like-
realize that.
Like another bar.
like, there is none up
Another
there.
bar.
Well,
I've been
just-
looking.
Club.
There are, in Chester, you have the venue in Chester.
Which one?
You're
Yes,
talking
but they
about
don't-
Bogos?
I have friends.
You're talking about where they do the summer concert series?
The
No,
Bogos?
what do you call that?
Bogos.
I'm
Isn't it
actually
Bogos?
from Chester
Bogos is
originally.
gone.
Yeah, but what, oh, I thought that's what you're talking about.
No, oh God, the big,
It's a music festival.
it's not just a music festival, it's a big building.
Oh, actually,
Stage and stuff.
I'm
There's
actually-
an amphitheater?
Huh?
yeah.
Oh, that's in
it's-
No,
it's
it's
still
not
over,
in the
yeah.
amphitheater, it's inside.
Where in Chester, in the village?
Right outside,
Performing arts Center?
right as you, yes, right as you're going out of Sugarloaf.
Performing arts Center.
Oh,
That's true.
that was the
Oh, the
license.
Yes,
Lyceum.
Lyceum, thank
Oh.
you, thank you.
That's
Yeah.
still,
And they have a lot of,
So
a
I
lot
have
of
to say, I was
things
going
going
Yeah,
on.
they do.
That's when you go over very well.
Well, they have comics go there, they do
Tremendous
have
amount of stuff
conferences,
they do,
seminars.
I was just looking at the.
I don't know who controls it.
And,
But what's interesting is, let's go through these, and I want to touch upon Sugarloaf. So,
Put a magic
cultural,
show in.
recreational,
Put a
business
comedy show in.
opportunities,
Put
that
those.
kind of encompass the numbers.
Magic show for kids.
Preserve quality of life, improve travel, so I think that has to do with, we talked about, forward thinking is to deal with the kind of traffic jam that happens, crossroads. And then someone wrote growth. So what were the thoughts on growth, that's forward thinking, we need some growth?
I actually wrote road, I was more gearing towards, I've only been here a short time, but I've been frequently, this village is for, about 10 years or so. I've always noticed that, I'm always seeing some kind of new project going on, whether it's something like, what's the name of the deli that was opened up? Flores. I went in there the first day for the soft opening, there were very, very nice people, there were a lot of people there. And I was just having a conversation with her, and she was like, I visited different places and this place, well, she used the word home. So I think there, that shows that like, you know, people want to come here, and that's the reason why I came here. I decided I wanted to put my family in a place where there was a great school district, all these different things, and I think that shows that, you know, things like that attract. So hence, if people come in, you're gonna start growing the community. But if they come in, they have their businesses, they have their own, you know, making their contributions, and I think that's really vital.
So what's interesting to me is that in the vision statement that was prepared previously, and in some, they said family. And that word didn't necessarily come up among this group. And it's not because it's not important. You may be here specifically because you want to raise your family here. But you want to raise your family here because of the other aspects. You know what I'm saying? And I also like it because sometimes when you say family, someone who's single, someone who's, yeah.
Middle-aged.
Yeah.
We're not, I don't
You're
have any kids in
different
school at this
place.
point, so.
And so to the
Maybe you've got
welcoming,
children? Anybody else?
Not in school.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that,
Maybe that's why.
it's almost as if
No, he's there
Washingtonville
still, but he's not
considers
in school.
community as their family.
I like the way that's put.
say that again?
It's almost as if Washingtonville considers the community as their family.
Yeah.
I believe that's very true.
I like that.
That is very true, because I'm on a lot of, I belong to the Catholic Daughters, and I'm part of the Knights of Columbus, and they're very community minded.
So you feel like you're part of a family when you live in the village of Washingtonville. And that gets back to that embracing, to the welcoming environment. And like, that's important when you have a diversity of people, whether they're single, whether they're married, whether they're seniors, whether they're young. Everybody wants to feel like they're wanted and part of the community.
One thing I did not put down, and I thought was very important, that I noticed, is the generosity of this community is exceptional.
Okay. I think these are all great words. I think you all kind of know what you're about as a community. And so part of the comp plan is expressing this so that people, the comprehensive plan guides growth, preservation. It's going to have implementation measures, but you want to have that overriding, when someone comes in and proposes something, you could say, well, that's consistent with what we wanted for this community, or, yeah, that's not what we were thinking, you know, with this vision, that's really not consistent. Because your land use regulations, your zoning regulations are really regulations. And so they tell you about the footprint of a building, you can, you know, also control architecture, you can control many things, but you can't control if it really fits and the intent. So all of the comprehensive plan is supposed to fill the blanks. If you talk about your business district and you create a business district, your comprehensive plan is supposed to describe what you mean when you say you want new development in the business district. It's not just any, it's particular types, you know, let's say. So with that, I'm gonna give you an issues.
You know, the word growth in there scares me. I don't think we can stay small and quaint little village and still have growth. Because I think growth means, to me now, 61 North
Expansion.
Street, and more buildings and more people. And I think we've heard over the past year, that's not what we want.
But I think that the term growth, it was just
It's a little bit
explained,
different.
was different than
Doesn't have to be.
growth in that kind of conventional sense.
I don't give so much expansion in terms of, you know, we see the place expanding. When
Almost
you
like
see something
evolution.
being implemented, and you have to evolve, you have to,
Yeah, like
you know,
evolving.
whatever the ideas and technologies and stuff like that, you want to make sure you incorporate that. Because you have a lot of people who go from the city, but they're moving up here because of the atmosphere and the environment. They don't want the, municipality that they left.
That's why they don't like South Bloomingville, because you're turning that into Brooklyn. Stay in Brooklyn if you want to turn it into Brooklyn.
I have to tell you,
Well,
someone in Hurley
to
had
be specific.
put up this great, little, it was off of the web, and it talks about, you came there from here because you didn't wanna live there, but now you wanna make here, there.
Yeah.
So if
I've
you
seen
want,
that.
yeah, I've seen that, and it says if you want there, then stay there.
Exactly.
Did I not give anybody, everybody has? They should have 3?
I mean,
about Donna?
like the majority
Oh,
of people
okay.
that are from like the
And
city
so-
that live up here still learn to say the word.
So we're gonna save all of those.
I do as well, so.
We're gonna think about some of these words for the workshop, or the survey.
But that's one of those things when, you want to live somewhere.
Was this helpful in terms of understanding
Oh, yeah.
what you're trying to achieve?
I understand,
You can get up here,
Oh, wow.
you can train for the rest.
I understand why people do it. Like,
I understand.
I used to have a conversation with my brother-in-law, because, you know, he retired from the NYPD. And, you know, he had the same kind of commute that I do. And, you know, I used to go into the house and, you know, we're having a, a drink, a cigar, whatever. And you see the mountains in the back. He goes, when I'm home, I'm home.
Yes.
And I'm like, that is such a beautiful way to live, you know?
I would do the same thing, he commuted to the city for 30 years.
I'm on 7.
And it was, when he got home, it was cows and bunnies and mountains.
There's still cows over there going towards like,
There's some cows.
years.
And yet, believe it or not, that's not Washingtonville.
It's not?
Nope,
What is it?
That farm.
that farm is not
Across from the,
Washingtonville.
What is that considered?
It
Close to
ends,
Ahern?
that's Southbury
Oh,
Mills.
yeah?
The left side,
Yeah.
Ahern, but that farm on the right is not.
But you might wanna talk about, even though it's not your community, you can't zone it, how your gateways are important.
Oh,
Kind
yeah,
of
true.
keeping that defined,
True.
open gateway that gives you the sense that you're entering the village. 'Cause
Mhm.
suddenly you come upon a
Yes.
community and development, right? So we could talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Speaking of which, we're
Yes.
talking about growth and gateways. This was yesterday at my house, which is right on the border of, I'm in the town of Blooming Grove.
Yeah.
With 15 acres of Orange and Rockland,
Oh,
putting in a
yes.
substation to help supply the growth. This is what my day is.
Are they still at it?
This is the one off 208.
Where is this at?
6-7 hours a day.
You know that little mini
Well-
golf course was?
Yeah, right, that's what I'm
They
saying.
bought all that property.
Right.
And they also, when you're going down 208, there's a gate, there's Sunoco on the right, then there's doctor's office. The next road you see, everybody thought the Acidics took that road. It's not, because Orange and Rockland grabbed,
The old,
Con Ed grabbed Orange and Rockland. That road is now Orange and Rockland to get up to their poles. It's not an acidic property. The property next to where you see all the school buses is.
Right.
But that road going up there
That's good to know.
is for Orange Rockland. And right where the golf, that's what she's talking about. They gutted all that.
yeah, the
And
driveway.
what's happening now? Look like they're selling it.
That's a
Can we bring-
utility.
Can we bring this in? Bring back?
Yeah, so that's a utility project, as I remember it being expressed, but let's get back to issues. So in the next 10 to 20 years, what do you think are the 3 biggest issues that you will confront? And and think about, and then we're gonna talk about opportunities about what the village what the village's assets are that they can build upon to achieve your vision. So when you're thinking about issues, ten to 20 years, that's about a typical time horizon for a comp plan. And when you're ready, you can raise your hand, I'll come over. I would say be politic in what you say, not politics, politic. And you wanna talk about issues positively.
70, what will I be, yeah, really?
What will I be worried about at 70? You're like, I'm gonna be a Boca Raton.
Yeah, somewhere.
So then I would think of it as, you know, maybe you don't live here, but you come back, and, you know, what do you think that has to be addressed to keep Washingtonville enjoyable in the same way it was when you were here?
Makes sense.
I'm gonna let you take over and go through them.
Sorry.
And, you know, these are essentially how we build up the plan to address what the issues are, how do we deal with it, and even opportunities, how we can, I don't wanna say exploit, but utilize those opportunities for the betterment, you know? You know you have Brotherhood Winery.
Love it.
That is an asset, right, an opportunity, so is that an opportunity to consider for additional development, additional business, a magnet?
I think for that, you should, because I've noticed that, I actually just found this out last year, because I actually came from Chester.
Okay,
I didn't even know that that's where cream cheese was made originally. So apparently that was like where it was like invented. With here, it's, you know, it's the oldest winery in the United States, and I think that should be like more, you know, I guess like, you know,
Out there.
popularized. It should be, you know, this is where it is, and then you go there, you just see the beauty of it, and you see
Yeah.
the old architecture and like the old buildings, and you're like, how do you not come here like every weekend, you know?
and I think you have to think about, when we talk about important places in the village, for the mini survey, you have to think of it in terms of what would be sort of devastating if it went away, if it was demolished, if someone wanted to do something else. You know, what defines Washingtonville? So if Brotherhood was no longer there, would it really take away a
Yeah.
piece of Washingtonville or some other place or resource? If the library wasn't there anymore, if, you know, whatever it is, you know, you all live here, so you define what those places are. That's the mini survey, if you haven't taken it. And I don't know if there's anything that stops you from taking it again. So,
Yeah,
so these are issues.
B&B for travelers, what does that mean?
Just like a B&B, a bed and breakfast, something small, not a hotel chain or anything like that, just something
A
small.
bed and breakfast like the one that's down
That's
on that
it.
corner of
Yeah.
Broadway.
Not in Washingtonville, but there's
So
two
that's an issue?
in town.
Or what you first stated?
Issues?
That there isn't, the issue is that there isn't a bed.
Oh, all right.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood.
More,
Maybe I,
All right, well,
You know
I'll
where
do
Old
this.
Dominion is?
yeah, no,
With historic churches on 94,
which direction?
south,
Toward Chester.
Towards
Dorchester, okay. So the historic church, and up that road, there's the most awesome B&B.
Oh, really?
And then there's another one right in Salisbury.
a lot of them don't.
Right on
even-
North Mills Road.
You wouldn't even know they're there. You just like a little
Wasn't there
sign.
one or two away to bed and breakfast, but I think they sold it. The ones right past Spears when you start to, on the decline of the hill when you're going out.
Anybody else?
Wasn't that a B&B?
That might have been an Airbnb,
Oh,
as opposed to
no,
just,
Please, no.
which is a little different.
Yeah, I know.
And I think that's when, we're not looking for more of those, as far as I understand.
Which brings another question, because I know the one, I just visited for the first time last week, the one in Old Dominion, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is heaven, this is perfect.
Where?
Up Old Dominion,
Okay.
where the historic church is, it's Spears Historic Big White House, and they're right on the edge of, I don't know how many hundred acres, and right along the Skyway Rail Trail. And they do have a few campers, which means we're gonna have to look at that code in the future if we're gonna be looking for more hikers.
Okay. Like,
Well,
I
that's
tell
the
you, up in
town.
Ulster, tons of applications for cabins and seasonal and camping and wellness and things of that nature. All right, so this is all of them. So this is, I guess, number one, and it should come as no surprise. Increased traffic, transportation and traffic. patterns of traffic, not enough roads, traffic in and out of town, fluid transportation in and out of the village, traffic.
That's a problem now.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'd say the majority, each single one of you talked about traffic as an issue that has to be addressed. Then over here,
8 actually.
8 of them, okay. Then you have dense housing, diversity. I'm not sure if that was housing or diversity. Over,
Density?
that's density? That looks like diversity. Yeah. That's okay. Overcrowding, like traffic, et cetera. And so this one is kind of an opportunity, but you can turn it around as an issue. So this says incentives to sustain, accommodate a moderately stable population of all age groups. If that's an opportunity, the flip side of that is there isn't incentives to do that. Overcrowded schools, which kind of, is it true? Are there overcrowded schools? Because there's such a trend for school-age children to be dropping.
I don't know if it's overcrowded.
No, middle
There's a
school,
few.
couple
Lack of
meetings, there was,
teachers.
Middle
said
school is
it's
absolutely
dropping.
It's
overcrowded.
overcrowded?
Absolutely.
Well, because of the baby
Middle
boomers.
school.
and that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because you got 3 elementaries going into that.
Yeah, my grandson's in the middle school.
Mhm.
Two people indicated taxes and high taxes. That's not uncommon,
Well, that's because of the school, that's why a lot of people come here.
well, the majority of your taxes go to the school
Yeah.
district. So
That's
a
one
lot
of
of
the reasons
people
a lot
will
of
be
people
mad at
come
the
here.
village or mad at other entities, but the reality is the bulk of your money goes to the school district. Outdated zoning, unwanted development, so now that people are looking to grow in the community or develop or redevelop, you're finding that maybe the setup from a regulatory perspective isn't giving you what you want, or what the village envisions. Loss of character of the village, aging of community. So aging, I don't know if that means aging as in people or aging as in just infrastructure aging of community, whoever put that
People.
down. People?
Old people,
So that it's,
that's what.
so that it hasn't transitioned yet to families and stuff. So just right now, you're in this kind of
In between.
in-between transition.
You don't want it to be that, the overwhelming majority is the older, they don't think we're a vital force in spending and everything else. They always think young, everything is geared that way.
This one's kind of unique, religious freedom, building and homes. So maybe religious diversity, perhaps, freedom. Criminal activity. Do people feel that there's a little bit of criminal
There is some.
activity? There's an element?
I didn't put that, but there is some.
There is,
So what do you,
I
what
found out about
kind
it.
of activity, what should we all be aware of? That has to be- Is it a
It's
place? Is it a particular places, or do people not feel safe in certain locations?
I put that down because
Okay.
I just realized, there's a lot of people are becoming naive about the fact that don't leave your bicycle outside because it's going to be stolen. It never did when I first moved here, but I'm finding it more and more now that when you leave things outside, it could be taken. You know what I mean? So that's why I put criminal activity. I don't know about the drugs and I really don't know much about that, but
Would
I
you
just know
say-
simple things.
So would you say it's within your particular neighborhood, or you
No,
think that's
no,
across the village?
No, St. Mary sold a house right next to them. The first thing that happened to that poor boy is he lost his bicycle was stolen, and they moved from West Point.
Okay,
They just moved there, first month there, he lost his bike was stolen. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's what I mean. It's within Washingtonville.
Any other areas, any other thoughts on this, other elements in general?
There was a post on Facebook, I think that's how everybody knows about the floorboy kid and spike.
Yes.
And some of the, responses are, well, you can't assume that it's going to be safe, you do need to lock things up. I've been telling everybody, you have to lock your cars when you
The police have
driveway.
said that, right?
You know,
I used to leave my doors
and then-
open all the time,
And there's
and
people-
windows.
And there's people that say that, know, I've lived in the village for 30 years and kids have been stealing kids' bikes for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't have social media back then, so a lot of people didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Well, I agree there's a certain element of social media that adds to this for certain. So where you thought that you were safe,
Yep.
you hear stories now of you're not. And, you know, I think where we would get in terms of is it true or not is just to talk to the police and the
Well, I
officers.
have, they would say probably, you know, thefts are probably one of the highest things.
Okay,
Some break-ins,
but is it, in other words,
Few
has it
stolen
always
cars.
been, or has it been an
the
increase?
increase has not been great. I mean, you've had 4 stolen cars instead of 2.
Okay. But it's
And,
not,
It's not, there's nothing that's,
it's not
at this
unique.
point, according to them, that's out of hand.
Okay,
But they do see it, they do see an increase, you know, like I say, there's, you know, these kids are growing up and they're out on the street more and they're,
Well,
They have nothing to do, that's what
you
happens.
know,
They
yeah,
don't have
that's,
things to do, and that's why
I
I think
don't-
we
I don't
should
have-
build a bowling alley. Excuse me, but that's what I think.
Yeah, well, 11 or 12 o'clock at
Yeah.
night or 1 o'clock in the
Yes.
morning, you better be in bed.
Yes.
But there are older kids, or
Yeah.
20-year-olds.
Mhm.
We've had a couple of, what's what I'm looking for? No, not really spikes, but a couple of incidences where they're hitting neighborhoods, just going around checking to see if your car's unlocked.
The
They're just
mischief.
Yeah.
Taking the contents that are in them.
so instead of like this trip night before Halloween, they're doing
Yeah,
it.
it is doing it, yeah.
Probably have
Like the ones
curfew.
who ride the bicycles in front of the cars on Main Street. They are
That's
so annoying.
an issue.
So what is that?
Oh,
They're
yeah,
riding their
right in
bikes.
the middle of
It's
the
like
day.
playing chicken with.
Oh, so they're literally like in the middle
In the
of.
middle.
Oh, yeah, some of them,
Riding,
yeah.
it's like,
they cut
we come
across.
in the
Yeah, my dad would say someone just needs a good belting.
That's it.
They've had that on Facebook too. You know what, though, parents don't care.
Recently, the police have taken measures to, be more visible.
Yeah,
We've had kids hanging around the gas stations,
I'd
things
arrest them.
like that, you know, huh?
you could do a good arrest.
They really should,
So,
because it's
you know,
very dangerous.
It's funny, as I get older, I'm like less tolerant towards nonsense.
absolutely.
I think there was some like sporadic, finding drugs in youngsters around like, Dunkin' Donuts where they were congregating and they
Yeah.
started breaking it up,
Yeah,
like very
Yeah,
regularly.
with gas
They hang
stations.
out.
Dip it in the butt, right?
yeah, yeah, but thankfully
That can
not
happen
police
anywhere.
department,
That can happen in
that,
school.
We need a
Absolutely.
bigger
Local.
police
Yeah.
department.
And it is happening.
a bigger police department?
Yeah.
But you gotta find something to keep
We have 20 now.
There's a lot
But
of,
you know what, but think about it.
they have more coverage than you think.
No, no, not,
You're-
okay,
I was
bigger,
gonna say,
bigger building.
But
Oh,
you
bigger
know,
buildings.
Yeah.
so like, it's
I wrote
like,
about
we
So
that.
we have, like,
on
people
these all
come
the
in and
time,
they're
or
like,
outside
oh, we
playing
have
stoop
one.
ball,
Yeah.
or
When
whatever
I
you're
first
doing,
moved here,
right?
I thought it was a post office, I really did.
I mean, it's
You know,
like,
I
it's
don't
like it's
know
a
about
little
that.
house.
That's in your binder, I wrote
They don't
a
play.
Yeah.
few pages about
Yes.
that.
We have
Right.
that, that'll be
That
included in
building.
that. Flooding was another issue, just
I
moving
put it
on,
down, so whenever it rains, people,
You know,
we have a creek,
yeah.
That was in my
there's a rim
survey.
that's thick.
right.
Because we had a very bad flooding issue, and
I know.
just this year too, there was another flooding issue, so flooding is an issue.
This
That
was
was
a
on
very
the
wet
survey, I put
season,
that.
as far as I'm
It's a
concerned.
definite
I
Flooding is
couldn't
bad,
believe
though.
the amount of rain, in a couple of rain events in Monroe.
Yeah.
They looked like rivers in front of my street, it was
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
Accessibility, walkability, more of it, that you think, I guess, some more interconnections.
Yes.
And then, B&B for travel and grow agribusiness. So they may not be necessarily issues, and again, you kind of flip it, that you need you don't have. So you feel like you need some kind of accommodations overnight for travelers. And you think that you don't have right now agribusiness, and you should.
What does that mean?
Agribusiness is business related to agriculture.
Agriculture.
And it could be a variety of businesses. You know, a winery's technically an agribusiness, yeah. But the things that grow and that benefit from agricultural activities. It could also be, you know, manufacturing something that's grown, so. All right, so these are your issues. So the last set are gonna be the opportunities.
Oh, man.
So over the next 10 to 20 years, what do you think the village should consider in terms of opportunities that they could investigate, explore, research, expand. It can be anything. But, you know, think creatively, you know your community, and you're like, oh gosh, if they just used this building, or if they had this use, it would go so well with this other use. If we expanded this use, it would put us on the map. If we encourage something to come to the community. I don't know if I'm at these are opportunities.
Anybody finished? Worn in.
Talked about everything already in the beginning, so.
You feel like you talked about
I
it?
feel like I said, I only have two.
It's okay. Everybody's pooping out. It's 8:20.
This is enough.
So opportunities might be, for instance, reuse the Spears lumber or add senior housing development.
And festivals.
Or create a festival destination. Or we need 2 or 3 wineries and breweries. Or we wanna be
And that's why we need,
entertainment,
that's why we need a PhD.
we want an entertainment venue with restaurants and distilleries and wineries and theaters.
See, here's my problem with that.
Somebody else did drink all night and have a place.
Well, yeah, but the village can zone it, and as long as it's in accordance with the comprehensive plan, you
Yeah.
can't zone it for something that doesn't make sense. So you can't say we need to do this. Why?
And I guess I'm looking at this.
What is the difference between from the plan and then you establish what's allowed? And then you can see there's a lot of creativity too. You have to get them to go in a certain direction. You have to go in a certain direction. So by many mechanisms, but it's really what makes sense for the village.
So what what happens, there's an owner there, he's doing whatever he's doing, okay? Now it gets resolved. So what happens, he can't do what he's doing anymore?
So he gets to continue whatever he's doing,
That's
it's not conforming use, it's pre-existing.
Okay,
And then when he wants to find any change in the use, he has to comply with the zoning.
okay,
Yeah, it's, so changing in zoning uses doesn't mean suddenly it has to go away.
okay.
It just means that we may not be able to expand, even then sometimes you put diversity, you put flexibility and expand up to a point. It's just how it's registered.
No, this applies, but,
Yeah, there's a lot of space in, where's the order zone?
You can also think about it, whether, you know, for opportunities, you can think about it also as what are the village's assets, which is a little bit related to the vision statement. But what are its assets that really should be focused on?
so maybe my gym does fit.
It might, like I said, there's no right or wrong.
But a traffic circle would be like something,
Do you have more staplers?
would it work?
No, John, if I could do this at home here.
I know, I can't,
I
I do it
love
well.
doing stuff.
Oh, you can't let them
All the envelopes, yeah,
Well, whoever wants to stay, will stay for a little while
I don't
longer.
know.
We'll put some music on.
Okay, that's all right.
Maybe I'll go get a
I
couple
didn't
bottles of
say
wine.
that.
Oh, you know, the ones I saw that,
Don't
I
drink.
thought it was a staple, I didn't feel it.
Nope.
Yeah.
I will, I'm interested in.
Once the music on, this one went crazy. You want a bit? Nope. Nope. Sound good.
Yeah, I looked, I thought it was already a staple, because I was a photocopy. And I folded it, I said, well, I didn't see the paper.
Much interesting,
Village needs to buy new staplers.
That'll be in the plan. This is how
I
it
feel
works.
better in the pencil shop.
I'm gonna get my muscles doing this.
I fold,
Why are we
They-
folding these? Are they going in
Why
the
not?
envelope? I don't know if they're going in.
yeah, there's more.
Yeah.
It's the same day.
Oh.
Yeah, there's
Yes,
still
the
going
same
on,
day.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You just have
I
them
never
stapled
really looked
together.
at what we were folding, I just.
Good. One thousand nine hundred and something households, not residents, households. Right. There's about 6,000 residents.
All right, so, opportunities, assets. So one is visiting center. So what do people envision when they have a visiting center? Is it like a welcome center? Would it be used by the community? Would it be used for
Well,
you?
I know that when I go anywhere, and I don't know where I am, like I went to Lake George for the first time, I didn't know what was in Lake George before the lake. I went to the visiting center,
Okay,
and that tells me everything about Lake George, and there are the ones that were interested to go.
okay.
And then on the side, they had little pamphlets of things that were going on at the time that I went there. So then I took the pamphlets and decided where I was gonna go for the week I was there.
Okay,
That's why I thought maybe we can have a visiting center, because it would be informative to people who don't live there who were visiting.
okay. Do you think you have that many visitors here?
I think we will, if we
Yeah.
have the progress that we're making on that, I think we will.
Okay.
And plus, you have to realize, people who move here don't know, I know I don't know everything about Washington, and the visiting center would help me understand that, because you have to realize, when I was working, I didn't visit Washington, though I lived here.
Okay.
So I don't know where a lot of things are.
Right.
You know?
So someone will create an historic overlay. So I would say that the asset then is that you have historic buildings. And you need to create a historic overlay to preserve the opportunity to keep that charm. Is that unrealistic or? That is the idea. So your asset or your opportunity is your history and your buildings. Okay, bowling alleys, hypothetical. So, but it's it's something to do. It's,
Yeah.
It is
it's
something.
Yeah.
So you want
And it can also
entertainment.
be used as a place to, have parties,
You're
birthday
gathered,
parties,
yeah.
blah, blah,
It's a
blah.
place to gather,
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Some bowling alleys, some bars.
They make a good amount of money.
Or
So you
you
need-
can do the pool room in there as well.
Yes,
So you need gathering places.
yes.
There's a book written by Ray Oldenburg, I think it's called The Good Gathering Place. And it talks about how in small town communities, people would go to places like pubs and bars, and that's where the actual, sometimes decisions would be made.
The bar.
Because it's a neutral zone, and it's where people of different opinions could get together, hash it out over a beer. And it was a friendly environment than, let's say, just a formal meeting. And so they call that the great big gathering place, Ray Oldenburg.
I mean, I went to Hook and Ladder the other night the first time.
Oh, yeah?
It was,
Yeah?
Trivia night?
So when you say
I heard that
every
burgers are
place
really good.
needs its county tavern,
Huh?
its county tavern,
Yeah.
it's like village watering place.
I'd be in the minority, I'd be in the minority in that.
I feel burgers, so I'm feeling
I don't know what the, I've never been there, but I thought I was too old to go there.
No, you can see, I've seen.
You're not too old.
Not too old.
Next one, let's go to a bar.
It's not a young place, it's not a young
that.
kid place.
No, it's not a kid
It's like,
place.
it's like a conference table in Monroe.
it.
Everybody gets a
I know
conference table in Monroe, here it's Hook and Ladder.
Yeah.
And I know people who from Monroe go to Hook and Ladder.
No, we need more.
So you have Youth Brotherhood as a music venue,
Yeah.
so more activity in the Brotherhood.
You know, it's been used before. They had a concert by Spiral Gyra, wow.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know who was, I could not go because I had a game that day, I came late, but I had to go to Stop and Shop. And you can hear the music as clear as day, I'm going, wow, I could sit right here and hear the concert. Right here, Brotherhood.
Wow, yeah, they have a lot of stuff.
Oh, it's been a while. So, like, I have a friend who lives near Forest Hills. And she tells me, well, if you know that the group is here, just come home, sit outside, and we'll hear the whole thing. Because this is clear, I can walk to it from my house.
So what happened if this?
That's what I don't know,
So
but it's a
if
nice
Brotherhood-
place.
Fire.
If Brotherhood used to have these activities, what happened?
Well, I know they had a fire. Maybe the place where they had the fires is where they had the music.
No, that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. They use that area
They
now
fixed
for
it.
weddings and stuff.
They're very active with weddings.
So
Right,
it's
they
an
have
event-
weddings.
an event venue.
Oh, yeah.
And birthday
They
parties.
also do
But
every
not-
weekend.
But it's less public, it's like for private
It's actually
events.
quite.
No,
They have
no, 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 no.
Oh,
They
Every,
have a great stomping event coming up, they've got like.
every,
Yeah.
first of all, that used to be one big event. It used to be one day, in the
Great.
fall,
Yeah,
Great
and
Harvest
it brought in a
Festival.
couple thousand people.
yep,
Now, what they're doing is they have summer, music from May until, it just ended, this was the past weekend. Every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, they have live music.
Yep.
At the winery.
is it out or in?
They have great
Hour.
stomping.
The grape stomping started in September, and it ran through up until this past, because I was there, and I always go.
See, that's
The
one of
Sunday it ended.
I didn't know.
Both days of the weekend, every weekend, from Labor Day, I believe, up until this past
Memorial Day.
weekend.
It's a big issue of getting information out to this community.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
It really is a very lack of information to this
That should have
community.
been on the issue
Of
board.
what- of what's out
Information
there.
sharing.
How else can we get it out there?
Well, I
We
don't
have
know,
an
it's
official
just a-
Facebook page.
Yeah, but
We
I'm
have-
not, I'm not on so, see, I'm
then
not
we'll
even allowed
spend-
to be on
Then
social
we'll
media
spend
because the
10
work I
cents on
do.
an
What
ad.
about our website?
Yeah, but who goes to it and
You
why?
know
Well,
what?
then
You know
no.
what?
I don't know the
How-
answer, I'm just being
That's
No,
why I'm
devil's
asking.
advocate,
here's a suggestion.
you know.
So some communities have digital change boards. They
Have
have,
what?
they have
Digital
digital
boards.
change boards.
Yeah.
Oh, we,
You would have.
Nice
Wait,
to
that's
have
digital, right?
And,
It's our
and
code,
you, and you
isn't it?
put it
that's
over.
against our code.
Well,
You absolutely put on a
so,
board.
so you are not subject to your code, and if it's a municipal function, let's say you put it over by Spencer Commons, so when people are driving by, because that's really where everybody drives into and out of town. So if you said, you know, Christmas event, You know who has a big board? It doesn't even have to be digital.
Chester.
In winter,
Suffolk,
Chester does it,
as you're coming
Oh,
right
to
by the
Well, so-
fire, they
Yes, by the
post the
firehouse.
events.
So you're a village, you're very centralized, that's a key corner.
You know what?
The villages suffer in their central business district, whenever you go right into downtown, there's a big signboard, and it'll say,
That's an
Mayor
amazing
Curley
idea.
is having a, in Suffolk.
By the gazebo?
Yes, right by the gazebo.
You know,
We used to do
The
this.
schools do it for all of their events, for
So
all of
you
their open houses,
so-
their,
So you should have a change board.
that's a great idea.
Is that
Right in
village property
McLaughlin
right there?
Square, that's the center, that's the intersection.
Well,
right
you know
before-
what?
So one of the things you might do then is see if there's a little grant, some kind of grant to do it, or I don't know what the cost is. But, you know, we talk about low hanging
They're
fruit
expensive.
to show that there's change happening. And sometimes it's simple things like putting a signboard up and suddenly advertising the things that are going on in the
Yeah.
village, because residents are like, oh, there's something going on.
Well,
Right
let
now, we're
me
using
tell you-
banners.
Tell me, but I was just gonna say, let me tell you what one of the problems is.
Okay.
We've always used banners, okay? They used to be on the library property because that's really the best vantage point. Can't do that anymore. But now they're in McLaughlin Square,
Right.
but they can only face 94.
Right.
They can't face sideways. So unless you're stopped at a red light, you can't see what's on the banner.
So it would have to be then, if this, you're gonna have a change board, a permanent one, because it'd be nice, it could be the colors for Washingtonville, it's a logo, and then you advertise these events, it just has to be in a strategic place where people can see it, obviously.
Well, but apparently the law now is that it can only face the road and it can't,
Again, don't worry about the law.
okay.
We're
We
changing
are.
our
Okay.
codes.
Yes.
So that's part of the big job that this committee has, and that's probably not most
That's,
troublesome and concerning area is the zoning,
yes,
and the language that we currently have,
yeah.
and the changes that need to be made. So
Agreed. All right, so, develop Sphere as a festival site, parking, protect its view. And related is performing arts center, potential revenue raiser, and then some type
Yeah.
of concert hall, music venues, farmers market. So, you know,
We had one.
We had one.
you have one or you had one?
We had one,
Had.
Had.
we had one.
Only one I know is Goshen, really.
They have one
No,
in
that's,
Monroe.
It wasn't big, but.
Every
That was-
Friday,
It
you
was
go in.
there.
But that would attract a lot of people if you were to bring that back. That would bring a lot.
You know what? It didn't.
It
I'm a
didn't do
volunteer
well.
up there,
It
that
did
will.
Did not do well.
And,
Well, the one
they
in the-
have farmers
Ours.
markets, and they also have, where people come, they sell their jewelry, their leather goods,
Yep,
you know, they have it on specific weekends.
yeah,
And their turnout is like,
like flea
outrageous.
markets.
You know why farm
Yeah.
market is not easy to maintain, it is a lot.
There was also, a couple of years back, in the parking lot, right across from the AutoZone, like a small business, like
That's where
Sunday.
the farmers
That's
market
the farmers
was.
That's where it was,
Yeah.
so like, I mean, like, can we bring back those kind of like the small business, like Sundays, like, I mean, I even went to those.
Yeah, I think a flea
I even did
market.
those. You know?
Or that incubator
Oh, they're
concept.
right. But you know,
There's gonna be one tomorrow, Saturday rather.
A flea market?
It has to do with Richardsonville and stuff.
I wonder if there's a certain amount of competition, because since everybody wants to have farmers market, there's only so many farms around here, is it that they just now seem to go to, like, let's say Warwick is happening, do they all,
Yeah.
because you really only do it on a Saturday or Sunday, right?
that is it.
So I think they're gonna plot themselves where they probably get the most bang for the buck, and then they go to particular communities.
There's literally the same vendors in the Warwick one.
Yeah.
People go there and they check they're very loyal.
Yeah.
And they just,
Now, they have the venues, you know, they
Yeah.
have, and if you think about Spears, think about, you know, you have World Valley Winery where people go, I mean, that's changed incredibly with the venue, and having a lot of improvements. It's music all day, drinking wine, eating, and then what's the one with orchards? Not Angry Orchard, the one in Warwick, but there is Angry Orchard
Warwick
in
Valley?
Montgomery. Not Warwick Valley, the one that's right out of the village,
Apple?
from New Jersey. Sue's, I think, is in,
That's
Louisiana.
that's like the other
But the weather hasn't helped either, because the
Oh,
ones
they
that
got
we were
killed.
gonna have this season.
Yeah, I know,
you
we
it's
get killed with that other one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably including tomorrow.
They're very, very upset and concerned. They
About,
have, I can't even begin to tell you the amount of time and effort that went into
Into
Witchingtonville
Wichita.
before dark, after dark, and we're still on the fence with whether it's gonna be canceled or not.
Yeah.
Goshen last night canceled their second rescheduling of Illuminate Goshen.
Really?
Where
Monroe had to cancel several times, I don't think it's been held, Cheese Festival.
the problem is, we found out the vendors, and there's so many vendors, and
Yeah, at some point.
this events committee, I can't even begin to tell you.
Well, where
when
is
they
this
cut
gonna
into
take
this.
place?
4 locations in our village.
Yeah,
So before dark is for
So
the
the
little
back,
ones
right, for
over
the
at
little
Burn
ones.
Allen.
See, that's what I mean, like, I had no idea this was gonna happen, so.
it's on the banners. The
They're
banner's right in the
banned
middle of the
By
village.
F and J's.
Yep,
I mean,
They're right there. There's,
Right at
the bigger
McLaughlin
one,
Square,
it
there's a
says
huge
the
banner.
after dark, and the smaller one says the daytime, which is
Yeah,
for the
it's
kids.
just hard to read all that when you're trying to drive.
No, you gotta walk. No, I know, I stopped.
Wait a minute.
I stopped
I'm
over.
looking at something.
No, I stopped over in Reading.
I'm getting out of my car, hold on a minute, I
right
gotta
now
read
it's
this.
still on.
This is
We're
why
doing
if we had, like,
Say you try to-
So I'm gonna continue on with, so, related to all that, someone also added movie theater as well as performance
We're trying
halls.
to get 2 more.
Shared retail space, expand to more diverse business. Indoor gym for all your activities. Find a space for a center, activities for children and adults. And then after-school programs at a central facility to support youth interest, talent, and creativity. You had 3 individuals talk about that. More places like local home goods or hardware store opportunities. Plan a use for the land at the entrance of the village off 208, which is, I guess, Spears that we're talking about. Stay away from becoming the 5 corners in terms of traffic. So 5 corners is good, Windsor.
You don't
Happy
want that.
spaces. I like the term, happy spaces for senior gatherings and activities. And then properly zoned for both residential and commercial. Develop park space across from the middle school. So I guess for some more active, activities as opposed to just open space.
that's Sewell Park,
And that's
and there are.
That's bad.
I was just about to ask about that, because I noticed they cleared that out, but it's,
It's been clear for years now.
what are the, I'm assuming like playgrounds or anything?
No, they can't do that because it's in a flood zone.
It's a flood zone, yeah,
So
that's
there's
the
walking
problem.
path and a platform.
They can't really build anything that's concrete.
So we're gonna start putting all this
Nice little
together
spot.
Mhm.
in planning and in documents, as well as all the conversations we've had.
Mhm.
We're gonna start planning for a workshop, but we'll have to figure out when that happens, and we're gonna take these ideas to the public. So we'll have to talk to the village about when to reconvene, because we'll start going into the zoning, which means how, the uses that you allow and where you allow them, how you regulate, and, adding, let's say, historic preservation, requirements, putting in design guidelines, et cetera. So those are sort of that's the evolution, that's the next steps in the process. Is there anything that anyone wants to talk about in terms of issues, opportunities, vision, that as we've been talking about it, you realize you left something out, or you think there's some subtlety or some additional discussion you wanna have about this?
Well, I just wanted, from our last meeting, I wanted to look at the buildings that we have and buildings in other places. I just have an opinion, and someone can please tell me, the Chase Manhattan Bank that was there, was built in what, and that awful looking sign, how did that get there? It's an awful sign.
Yeah,
Which sign?
it is ugly.
There's an ugly, and I,
Yes,
what
Orange
is a
County
hiring sign?
Transportation.
That's for Orange
Oh,
County Transit,
Yeah.
that's a sore spot,
How did they get away with,
because the last administration allowed it.
can we get that changed?
We are, right now,
I mean,
am
I'm not being
working
picky,
really
it's just
hard
that
on
it's really
signage.
ugly.
I understand. Right now, we have an application before our board, and it's Sunoco.
Yeah.
We have a member of our ARB here tonight, who spent a lot of time over there, because we now, I think we talked about this, we now have an historical, I just had it in here, a color palette.
Oh, yeah, you just
Oh,
said.
So we adopted this.
Okay.
Two applicants came before the board and wanted signage. One was for a dental sign and one was for a new Laura's Deli that just opened up. And sure enough, right now, anytime an application comes in, part of that packet now that they get is with our historical color palette. And they have to choose from that palette, period. So now Sunoco's before us.
Yeah, there's gonna
They
be,
have
there's
their
gonna be a
corporate-
fight there, but
I
we'll have to
think
see
it's-
what
Logo.
happens.
I think
you know?
it's about toning it down,
Yep.
because you have to
Well, I put
acknowledge.
together 3 actual graphs and scenarios for
Uh-huh.
Sunoco,
Yeah,
but the ARB board hasn't
Well,
come
just so you
together
know,
to,
where we're at right now, because it's still going back and forth before it ends up coming
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to the board. They did agree to now the canopy that's above the gas tanks, no more. It's that NASCAR bright red, fluorescent yellow, and like your color shirt blue. Nothing, love the royal blue, but not for signage in a historical village, right?
and it's not like you're gonna buy there because of the fact they support NASCAR.
We're not. I mean, there's
No.
one gas station and there's Stewart's. If you compare, look at Stewart's,
Yeah.
the canopy is white. Sunoco is now doing a white canopy. So goodbye to that. NASCAR, bright colors there. Here's the other piece. There's 3 parcels there. Our code states 1 sign per parcel.
Oh,
So they're allowed 1 on their storefront, which they are revising, and they used our historical color palette for the fascia. They agreed.
Very nice.
We're
do
still
they say where,
tweaking.
they're gonna put it where the door is or the building side?
The entire fascia on the building will be in our colors.
Right,
The signage for right now, the bright, again, it's the same bright red, yellow, and blue for the A and the plus on the sign above the door. Buy to that. It's gonna be a wood look background with the A. They're still using their bright A, but we're now responding saying you need to choose your red from
It's
our color
more-
palette.
Yeah,
And the plus is the yellow, I believe, same thing. They have to use the yellow from our color palette. The big issue is the cabinet out front. That's that big freestanding sign that's sky high. And can't tell you how much time I've spent, also Stephen has as well.
because doesn't Stewart's have the
well,
regular, like,
Sunoco has
Stewart's-
a 95 page that I've read of transitional actions to their gas stations.
mhm.
And as far as that, instead of going up, they have an alternative for the signage to go this way,
Mhm,
and with bricks around it
mhm,
and shrubbery.
mhm.
But it is
Here's
still,
part of the problem.
it is still a lit sign though.
It's internally lit with the digital pricing on the
Yeah.
cabinet. So that is, internal illumination is against our code. They have to now use our colors for that big cabinet sign. They were going to redo it. They've retracted because they don't like what they are now needing to do. But what we're saying is, it's still against our code. And we don't relinquish our right to enforce our codes just because you've already done it. Back in 1993, it was ARCO. And the board, the ZBA, allowed them 3 variances for their signage. So that cabinet, the more I even dug in a little bit more today, I found out the internal illumination is against our code.
Mhm.
I found out that their area, square
The size of
footage
it.
is against our code. They received a variance for, I think it's allowed 31 feet there. They went to 50.
So they're kind of entitled to it now.
No, they're not.
No, in terms of what they have. If they got a variance for what they have now, they can continue it as a non-complying type of sign.
Well, this was back in 1993. And that was ARCO then. This is Sunoco now.
Okay.
So they didn't receive this yet. We're still working on the reply,
Does
but
Stewart's have a digital or Stewart's doesn't?
they do not have a digital.
Okay.
So that's why we said, look at Stewart's, a white canopy, their sign is low, you can light it, You can have an overhead light, you can have an uplight,
And they
but
have the
not
electrical
internal
outlet there.
lighting, not internal illumination. It glows, it's bright. The Sunoco part of that cabinet is not internally lit. It's the digital pricing that is, and it's tremendous. It's a very large sign.
Yeah.
So we're saying
It's
no bueno.
14 and a half feet
Um,
high. I measured it.
How many?
It's 14 and a half feet high. The sign itself
sign
would be
itself.
17 feet to the ground. But if you measure that sign from the mulch that's there, its height is 13 feet 6 inches.
You have to go back and look, and I was just looking
Yeah,
at it
yeah,
today.
I was up on a ladder
But
and
the
measured
square
it.
footage,
You know.
the area, the square footage, I believe were permitted in that zone 31, and I believe they have 50, because they received a variance back in 93.
Yeah, 'cause
to
they
allow
put
it.
the bricks around it on the bottom. But if you actually go from the street, you know, from that point, that you see the two poles, it's 13 foot 6 inches high, that sign.
Wow.
That's why Rose Agency won't cut the hedges. They refuse to cut it. Well, it blocks the sign,
Oh.
and it's on Rose Agency's property,
Okay,
but they refuse to cut the hedges down.
because they don't wanna see
Because
the sign.
Sunoco wants them to cut the hedges so they can see the sign. No, Rose won't cut it, they won't cut it.
But there's
They're like,
some
no
other
way.
language that I realized today in our signage
Mhm.
that states, and I don't wanna correct, I could be wrong, but it refers to like the brightness
Mhm.
of the colors being selected,
Mhm.
that it's not permissible.
Right,
That's what that is. So there's actually 4
well,
reasons.
it's like paint, you know, you've got gloss, you got matte, you got
Oh,
semi-matte.
there's another.
You know.
I believe do not permit, plastic signs.
Yeah,
This
it's
cabinet is
plastic
plastic.
extruded, yeah.
Right.
That's not a, I think if you look at the character as you're leaving the intersection and heading toward Village Hall, you see all the low-scale freestanding signs on wooden poles or on posts. And they have nice sign faces and they're externally lit. I mean, you've actually created a theme. Just like, if you think about the buildings as you're going along, you know, toward Village Hall, what do you see? You see residential buildings that have been converted to offices. And it's a nice character, and I think it's what you want to keep.
That's the OR zone,
Yeah, because it was supposed to be,
261 East is.
so I think it's this, you know, there's a very defined character, and so the comprehensive plan will talk about what the character is, which is what you want to preserve. Because I don't know that anyone has said we want to change all of that.
We love the OR zone.
Yeah,
What was intended to be there, it is professional office on the bottom with a possible 1, 2, or 3 dwellings, living space above professional office in a historical type looking home.
and I think what happened, what got lost, is that it's supposed to be really adaptive reuse of the buildings that are there. It's supposed to be, there are big older homes there, so you want the offices, and then you can have, you know, a couple apartments. But the way that the zoning was written is instead it says you get offices plus you get like 6 units to the acre or something. And
Well, no, what
Whatever
happened
it
is, what's permissible in that OR zone, and we all know, right, East Main Street there? Here.
yeah,
What's permissible is number 1, residential, number 2, professional office, and number 3, multi-dwelling. So,
but I think the
the language doesn't specify what was meant by multi-dwelling.
Right.
So multi means anything more than 1.
3.
And that's why we had an application, still have an application before our board for 28 apartment units in what was a historical looking home there.
Yeah.
And it got us into some trouble, and that's why I said to you, for me, my biggest concern is the zoning.
Yeah.
and the language, because when that was written, everybody knew what the intent was.
And I think that's the issue, because when they said multiple dwellings, they
Yep.
meant,
Usually 3 and up, isn't it?
and they
On the
meant
law.
use the existing buildings and put multiple in the buildings, not tear them down.
And it's not stated.
And it's not. And if there may have been, because people keep telling me there's a comprehensive plan, in fact, the owner of Spears, I thought he said he had an old document of the comp plan. So it may have been expressed somewhere, but the zoning was too vague, and once you divorce the two of each other, you're not, you lose what the intent was, and the intent really should have been in the zoning.
You know what, when I moved into my building, which is on East Main Street, I was told, and the zoning may have changed since then, because I've been there a long time. But I was told in that zone, it was either office or it was residential. There was no permission for any
Yes.
kind of apartments.
It is a combination of,
But that's what I mean, when I went in
so
there.
what year? About?
95,
Okay, the last comp plan was done in 95.
okay. So that may have
Do we
just
have,
been.
I don't think I've seen it.
Hold on,
That may have just been around that time frame, because that's what I was told.
Yeah.
It was either office or residential, but not a combination.
So when you go down to 32 through Central Valley,
Yeah,
you know, going out toward Cornwall, you have the big old mansions, big old buildings, you'll see that they didn't tear them down.
mhm,
And they've reused it for a restaurant, you know, there's an Allstate, I think, there. They're different uses, but it was explicit that they wanted to preserve the buildings. You can put apartments in, but the apartments are in the buildings,
Buildings.
yeah. And maybe you put an addition on,
mhm.
but you don't get rid of that character.
Mhm.
And that's the same concept from my perspective as what you have here on Main Street. And I think the zoning, if you read it, I do think that that was probably the intent, but because it wasn't regulated or written properly, people are interpreting that you're just allowed to knock down the building and put up multiple dwellings, meaning, you know, either condos,
Yeah.
apartments, whatever. And I think many believe that's not consistent with the character of the village, you know,
Yeah,
we want to see.
so, and it was real specific when they told me.
Yeah.
It was office or it was residential, it was not a combination.
Yeah.
Parking had to be in the back and all kinds of stuff.
Well, that's another thing,
Yeah.
because if you look at it, you see lawns, you see front yards,
Mhm.
you don't see parking in the front.
Yeah.
It's not that conventional strip center, put the parking in the front. And you have some of that, but that is not consistent with the village character. You know, unlike Hook and Ladder, in that building, that's more villagey. When we looked at some of those images, I think of Eastdale Village that I showed you, I'm pretty sure I showed you, right, out in Poughkeepsie, the
Mhm.
new development, that's brand new, that's like a village. And I think that, those are all the images, and one of the things we'll do as part of a survey or as part of a workshop that we've done in some communities, is we'll put images on foam core boards, and we'll ask people to rate it. So do you like this, and do you think it's appropriate for the Village of Washingtonville? And then they put dots, and we put a series of images that go from a single family to a two family to three family, and maybe some multiples, but like a townhouse type style, or, you know, and then go from 3 stories to 4 to 5. And at some point, the dots start to diminish, or you found that you've hit the point where you don't wanna see, you know, that density. So people might not understand 12 units to the acre versus 8 units to the acre, but they will understand if they look at a building and an image, they'll say, that doesn't fit, or this fits.
This
What
seems
about the
like,
bulk table?
Yeah,
seems like almost a new phase to, and excluding you, when I first started covering town boards and planning boards in Goshen and Chester, it was the era of the new smart planning.
mm-hmm,
And the ideas were great. And then a lot of them just kind of, probably because they weren't done as specifically as they should have. What happened to these new, like in Goshen, with the walkable communities between, and, you know, trails, and they just frittered away, they didn't happen.
mm.
We're trying to bring it back.
Yep.
Here.
that's always, I mean,
The
New York
Spear,
State,
Spear, 150 acres, Piazza, oops, I'm sorry. Piazza property, 150 acres, it's gonna sell, and it will be developed. You all need to think real hard about what we wanna zone that for, what you'd like to see there. I know I had a vision that I presented when I was on this side of the table before we became elected
Yeah,
officials. And Jim Piazza was sitting here. That-
Sure was.
And he actually, was looking at him when, kind of presenting this idea, and he actually really liked it.
What a legacy it would be for him and his family.
And he even said that was something that was kind of like in the works, or something that he had thought about some years back when his property was gonna be up for sale.
Right.
And it was like a mixed zone type of residential, NB, neighborhood business combination with walkability and paths, lit pathways, maybe some seniors in there.
They couldn't do it because of the sewer, if I remember right, is what he couldn't get it done in the past. There was
They
a
wanted
sewer
to-
problem, but that's changed since then.
When Hovnanian was gonna come in, is that when you mean?
Because he
For
said
the
they
senior
had a
housing
big
over
problem, yeah.
probably wouldn't have been so bad if Hovnanian had come in,
If what?
if Hovnanian had come in.
Hovnanian?
Hovnanian, yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot of Hovnanian development down in Mawa,
I've done a lot of work,
Ramsey.
and,
They
I've
don't
done a
do
lot
as
of
much here.
consulting with Hot Name.
Leonard
that's,
is,
Brookshire is Hovnanian, isn't it? Oh, Brookshire,
Yes.
yeah, he's the builder.
okay,
Well, they're up in Peekskill, I did a lot of work in Jersey with them.
they were
It
huge
depends-
in Jersey.
It depends upon the
Wow.
contractor. I've
Yes.
seen $12 million homes that are,
They
I
have,
mean,
they
leaking.
they have, yeah, they have different,
oh,
yeah, they have different scales
yeah,
of,
it's interesting.
yeah,
I got away
big
from them,
builders.
their lawyers wanted me to do stuff I just wouldn't write,
okay,
you know, it just,
doesn't make sense.
oh, no, their workers
Better a
were
long
just,
time ago.
atrocious, No, it's still going on.
Oh, no, I know, but I mean, they were better a long time ago.
Not really, because I'm going back into the 90s with them.
They were always known to be, so their big thing was that they were highly affordable when they would come out with their
Yeah.
condos. And people, there would be lines.
And then they
Right,
started
right.
building
I was
those
one of them.
big
Yeah.
houses. They were building the big houses down in Jersey,
Yeah,
and that's where they started falling off the curve.
yeah,
I mean, there was some of them were just unbelievable.
yeah. I just
Lottery
remember it,
to get in, to the ones in Mawa.
there'd be
There was a-
lotteries, there would be, I mean, it was tough, so, because there was such a demand.
Well, they ran out of workers, that's what happened with them.
Oh, interesting.
They ran out
So
of a
then
lot
they
of
got
people to build them.
contractors, geez, other
They couldn't
contractors.
find builders, then unions and
Yeah,
disputes and all kinds of stuff. And then supplies,
right,
they started changing things.
yeah. Well,
On
that's the tough
houses
thing
that were
right
put
now,
half-inch
is people,
sheetrock that should have been three-quarter.
people building now, it's,
People didn't know it, they just walked in and saw a wall.
yeah. I'd be, unless I'm in control, I'd be curious what people are building now because of the costs and how they went up so much.
Yeah,
And, are they shortcutting it because they're doing cheap or just simply to stay
yeah,
affordable?
they're doing different things. They're doing 24-inch on center joists instead of 19. And, or, instead of 16, they're doing 19.
Yeah,
So what happened with most of their multi-million-dollar homes, people think homes settle. They don't settle, they shrink. It might sound stupid, but they don't settle. They actually shrink. They lose moisture, they shrink. So when you have an I-beam in the center of the floor, you used to go in there and the building shrunk,
Sure.
including the concrete and supports. So they have these gigantic gaps throughout the entire home, from one end to the other, under the I-beam. So they had to figure a way to, I figured a way to fix it, but I didn't like it. But we fixed those, and then I wrote the spec on what to do to avoid that. So, I mean, some of the, they have nails up in the support beams and there's supposed to be lag bolts.
Yeah,
They got nails halfway in and they bend the nail over.
but this
I
was
know, just like,
definitely, that's
oh my-
definitely the reputation of
You know what they
some
never did? They
communities.
never insulated any homes in the basement. So all the floors cupped, the wood floors. But they said, well, I said, what, well, we don't have to.
Or it's-
The zoning law, we don't have to insulate the floor. But why don't you? It's a $11 million house.
yeah,
It,
no
it's
way.
like, you know, $1,000 worth of insulation, your floor's cupping, they got you in a lawsuit.
That's right.
I've got moisture readings that are off the wall because there's no dehumidification in the basement. And these people are like, I'm not moving in. And I'm just like, why don't you answer? Well, we don't have to.
Mhm.
But
Zoning.
it's, you know,
Codes,
yeah, they just said, well, yeah,
Everything.
we don't have to, so we don't. I'm like, yeah, but,
Until someone tells you you don't have to,
Yep.
which is usually,
well, I tell you the truth, when you end up in court, the homeowner always wins. And I always told them that. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna get up as an expert witness, but I'm not gonna compromise myself. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, you're gonna lose. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
courts, they side with the consumer,
that's interesting.
you know.
I have to keep that in mind. For my next
Yeah, I'm in
house.
court enough on a lot of stupid, you know, but, you know.
Well, thank you all. I think this was very useful. I hope it stimulated ideas. And we will start working on the plan. We're gonna start working on, take a look at the survey. I think we wanna develop different, if we do the survey, different questions that enhance that survey rather than reproduce it.
Mhm.
And then we'll be looking to have a workshop, and we'll think about what we wanna ask people if they come here. And so we'll be setting that up, we'll be working with Donna on that, so more to come. So it might get a little slower right now, especially since we're entering slowly the holiday season anyway.
Are you gonna have a meeting next month as usual, or?
none of the meeting dates interfere with any of the holidays. We were very fortunate.
Okay,
So right now, yeah, everything's still scheduled for the third
It's
Thursday.
the third
November
Thursday
and
before
December.
Thanksgiving
We're-
will
we're
be the
good.
following
Okay.
Thursday.
so I
week
think we
Yeah.
budgeted up to 8 meetings, so I wanna just check. Let's assume we're meeting. If we don't meet, I'll let you know, but assume that we are meeting.
Okay.
And I
But
just,
we were till December.
okay, and then, well, I'm trying to figure out. if-
This was 5.
Correct. So I'm just wondering for the zoning, are we gonna continue, or that's gonna be separate from having committee? We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, because 8 does take us to December.
Also, we are right around that time period with the extension. So we have the 6 months.
Okay.
Do you have the dates?
Oh, the
Is there
dates.
something, we need another 6-month extension?
Yes,
So do we as a village need to,
you need to,
or
you
do,
you need to talk to Brian about it.
okay.
And so you can do extensions.
It's our last one, folks. We
The
get
next
one
6
more
months?
6-month extension for this
Yes.
moratorium, and then that's it.
So, well, you can still extend, but what the courts want to see is that you've made progress.
What we were told was, in order to get the 2 6-month extensions after the first 6-month moratorium, we needed to show progress, which we obviously were doing.
Right.
But you're saying even in additional, if need be?
I could tell you, I think Tuxedo must have had it going for 3 years.
Okay.
But it depends. It depends on who's there, it depends on, but, you know, you might have a more limited moratorium. But there's nothing sacrosanct about it has to be 1.5.
Okay,
It's just you do have to show progress. I'm trying to think Monroe may have gone longer
good
too.
to know.
So something to talk to the attorneys about,
I will.
okay?
Last night when I was at the library for the historical presentation, I did speak with Carol, who runs the library. I asked her about maybe putting like an insert in their newsletter to kind of help drum up for the questionnaires and stuff like that, or any information. Unfortunately, the newsletter goes out to all of Blooming Grove,
Okay,
so it's not just the village.
okay.
But I do have her email address, so she's like, I'm gonna email her, and if she comes up with any ideas, like flyers, brochures, they're willing to even put a link on their website for us, for
Mm.
the
That's why-
survey.
That's why these
stuff.
cards are so useful, that the mailing was happening, because it's going to village properties.
Well, and we just made a resolution Monday night to now be able to recruit somebody for historian outside of the village. It will now
I know
encompass
somebody.
the town of Blooming Grove, so,
We know someone.
yay,
So
yep.
did you get through the 2,000 envelopes?
Nope,
Oh.
only because we ran out of copies of the
Oh.
resident letter.
Printed the whole
Otherwise, we
copy
would have
for you
gotten it
today.
done.
Oh, wow. Well,
There's about I think 400
good job,
left.
group, good
Yeah,
job.
Great job.
Really, thank you so much. I can't even tell you how many days this would have taken the office staff.
This is
That
very
was easy.
fortuitous.
While they're
A lot of
working, they
days.
were stuffing
That was
envelopes.
easy.
It was very fortuitous.
Thank you so
Many
much,
hands make
greatly
light work.
appreciated. They won't believe this tomorrow when they come in.
And then
All right,
you could
it's a wrap.
You could start a mailing at least of what's been done, because you don't have to do it all at once, I would think.
We want